At the KSMO studio, it's time for us to sit down with Mr. Jason Edwards from our Salem Memorial District Hospital, dietitian over there, and we're going to talk about the favorite time of year everybody has.
All right, that holiday eating.
Holiday eating.
You bet.
Indulgence.
It's good to be a food guru this time of year.
Well, I imagine it is, but also it's very tempting.
Oh, it's always tempting.
It's very tempting.
I always say I'm a dietitian, not a saint. I have my vices too. I like to eat. I was the 200-pound fifth grader, so
I remember.
Yeah, the old Twinkies and Ding Dongs and cupcakes, a box at a time. That's not always the good eating habits, but I've been there, so I understand what people go.
Well, I know it, but here's the thing, and you know as well as I do.
Yeah.
It's not always intentional here. You start thinking about the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Thanksgiving. First thing you think of is pies. That's what I do because Grandma had 4 or 5 pies for every Thanksgiving day. Not only to mention we had turkey, ham, probably squirrel or rabbit else, and then potatoes. And you walked in and the smells just overtake you.
Yeah, that's the start of the digestive process alone. Right
exactly. There. And then you have all this food, and you really want to sample a little bit. You don't want to be rude, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to sample a little bit. You feel like you have to. And then when you get done sampling everything,
yeah. And you force yourself. You almost engorge. And
so how can people not do that, Jason? I mean, we talk about it all the time.
Right.
Hey, it smells so good, and you know you can keep leftovers. We
Absolutely.
all know that. We're not crazy. It just seems that at Thanksgiving and also Christmas, because we just eat all day, right?
Right.
You just sit down at this meal. You just basically take the belt, you undo it 3 different, notches, or wear sweatpants,
and you go to town.
And you go to town. But you know as well as I do. We've talked about this many times.
Absolutely.
When you do that, your body does not like that.
Oh, no. Especially if you've consistently had a good quality meal plan up until that point, which not everybody has. But if it's something you've been working all year long and you indulge like that, you're going to feel it. I mean, we've talked about this 100 times
next
already.
2 days or 3.
That's, right as soon as the meal is over. That's why everybody, it's time to take a nap. Because your body's full, you're putting out insulin, you're trying to bring the blood sugars down, you're doing all your body's processing, so metabolism slows. Time to take a nap. But the way I always try to encourage people to get around that, I know there's so much enticing food there. You don't have to eat the largest serving of every food like you normally would. If you want to sample those different foods, that's fine. It's very, very small portions so you can get everything. You wouldn't give your brain time to catch up to your stomach while you're eating. Don't just feel like you have to shovel it in. You shovel it in, you're going to put a heck of a lot more than you need. Trust me, I used to be that kid.
Oh yeah. I know. And then eating quickly because you really, it's all hot and it's all fresh and you're wanting to get that hot gravy on top of those potatoes. Oh man, you can almost taste it going down. But when you do that, you're trying to eat it so quickly that you're eating so much food that your stomach can't tell your brain, hey, it's time to cut off.
Exactly. You ever seen these food competitions where they've tried to eat the amount?
Yeah.
You see how fast they're doing it. I know they're timed to try to get as many as they can in, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 60 seconds.
72 hot dogs in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and
where's that going to go?
Their brain is not telling them they're full at that point. They're just shoveling it in, making room and pushing it down. Same concept. You want to consume food at a pace. Taste your food. Enjoy your food. Do not shovel it in because your brain is not. It takes about 20 minutes to catch up.
Right.
So take your time.
So let's put a strategy together, okay, for Thanksgiving and also for Christmas, because Christmas is a day. I always kind of call Christmas just a day-long feast. It used to be in my house. We'd have food. We'd have sandwiches. We'd have turkey. We'd have meatballs, chicken wings, shrimp. Man, it was stuff that was all just all day long.
Right.
It was out. You take some out, put some in, refresh some, constantly eating. Thanksgiving usually is a one-time sit down. Everybody eats. and then you have a tremendous amount of leftovers. So why don't we put together a plan like right now? Say, okay, I don't want to overindulge Thanksgiving meal. Let's say you're going to have your meal 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's plenty of food,
right?
And later on in the day, if you want to eat again around 6 or so
right.
that night. So should we start out with something simple? A nice little small serving of turkey, dressing, maybe some cranberry sauce, maybe mashed potatoes and gravy, salad, maybe a roll or two. And then stop. Maybe be drinking water. Like you told me a long time ago, put your utensils down in between bites because it takes a lot more effort to go pick it back up
right.
than just shovel it in, right?
Another concept to do, you are with family most of the time at Thanksgiving or friends. Don't just have conversation while you're eating. That helps because while you're eating, after you obviously don't chew and talk at the same time, but you take a bite.
Shouldn't.
And have conversation while actually that's just beneficial and healthy for yourself anyway and your family. And for two, that helps to slow down the process and let your brain catch up to your stomach.
But we're talking about a great meal there. So we have a fantastic meal, very nutritious. Then we get done eating and we find these 5 pies, 5 million cookies, all the baked goods waiting for us. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you just don't try and go eat all 5 pies.
Exactly.
And half a dozen cookies, and as well as the pies.
Right.
Maybe you should kind of figure out, okay, I have a cookie now, piece of pie, a couple hours, maybe with a hot cup of coffee or something. Let your body digest, and then and let your body tell you what to do.
What
right?
you need, yeah. Because if you're just pushing the food in, I teach people that your body is like a car. Okay, so when you get up in the morning and you start your car, it has to have fuel. That fuel is carbohydrate, fat. The protein is more for muscle repair and stuff like that.
Sure.
Not necessarily a fuel source, but if you are overfilling your tank, it's not like a car. It just doesn't spill out. Okay? It's stored as adipose tissue, which is your fat tissue. So that is where your waistline comes in and all your body fat stores that you see and you don't see. So instead of overfilling that tank, give your body time to burn that off. Does that make sense? So
Naturally.
So if your metabolism is high, and that's what we're hoping to get through maybe after the first of the year, if you're not increasing activity, if you're not eating those good complex carbohydrates, the whole grains, the fruits, the vegetables to increase your metabolism naturally to where you can burn more fuel and you can take more food.
Right.
Eventually you'll get to that point, but you have to start making those changes. Now when it comes to developing a meal at Thanksgiving, it's like you said. I try to build around my protein, for one.
Okay.
First step, what are you having as a protein? If it's turkey, I've seen ham, I've seen turkey, I've seen deer meat this time of year.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, shrimp. So the key is how much of a portion do we actually need? I would always try to keep people around a 3 to 4 ounce portion, try to keep no more than that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go back later. But right now, there's the start of your protein, okay? Then the next category, where's our carbohydrate, okay? There's going to be potatoes. There's going to be sweet potatoes. There may be rolls. There may be, a variety of different things. The key is try to take just 2. Or if you can split the serving, you can split those 2 into 4, but keep the serving small to where you're not overindulging on your complex carbs. Okay? So, I'm going to take it a step further, and instead of, now potatoes, everybody, I think potatoes get a bad rap. They say, it's starch, you can't have that. No, they're good. They're good sources of fiber, potassium. There's good nutrition in those. It's just how much are you eating of them. But they make my blood sugar go up. Well, how much are you eating of them to make your blood sugar go up that high? But taking it a step further, as a dietitian, I'm going to say, I see the beneficial quality in potatoes, but take it a step further. What about those sweet potatoes with the vitamin A and beta carotene that you get in the fiber? There's good, but I love to have them with butter and brown sugar, and I'm, a little bit of that is okay, but just be conscious of what you're putting in, because that additional simple sugar and saturated fat, it's going to make you feel more like a slug. The more, well, that's that lower metabolism. Yeah, you're just going to feel it. So the more,
especially the next day.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah, oh yeah. But the leftovers come in then.
Yeah.
But then you start tackling, okay, what about the other non-starchy vegetables? Maybe there's salads. Maybe there's fruit salads.
Green bean casserole.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So in those, and that may be an idea. You gave me a good idea right there. Instead of like green bean casserole, what's wrong with just making straight green beans?
Green beans, yeah.
Just green beans. The green bean casserole has a lot of additional things added to it to increase the fat, the calories. I know it increases flavor, but to keep those calories down, to keep you make you feeling like a slug, and to just be more health conscious, maybe trying to just do simple foods, or like the corn you might have, instead of buttering that puppy up, maybe just steamed corn. Being health conscious on the foods that you provide.
But let's also think about the preparation of this food. Don't prepare so much. Cut back on the portions you're serving. Okay, do you need a 22-pound turkey, or will a 12-pound turkey suffice?
Absolutely.
With the other products that you're serving as well? You may not have as much leftover. I always love leftover turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do, right? However, if you're trying not to overeat at Thanksgiving and at Christmas, why get the extra poundage if you're going to have to freeze it or store it? And that brings me to another point that I wanted to bring out, too, when it comes to Thanksgiving meals. We all know it's football day, right? Everybody's watching football, and they're snacking on meals. And so you get done with this beautiful bird that comes out, and everybody rips into the bird, and there's little scraps of it left all over the place. And they leave it out for 4 or 5 hours, and everybody's biting on it. That's not really a good idea, is it?
No, you're just opening up for foodborne illness. And it's not just turkey. I mean, any kind of food it can grow bacteria. It can grow things to making foodborne illness. So you always want to be conscious. If you get the food, once your meal is done, need to get that back to either, if it's going to be hot, or back on the heat to where it's sustainable, or if it's going to be cold foods, make sure, especially if it's got some sort of a dairy in it or an egg, definitely need to get that back into the cold. You want to have a good Thanksgiving, but the next day you don't want to be where
Well, you probably are going to feel like a slug anyway. But like we talk about, if you prepare this ahead of time, a lot of people have to go to 2 families. We know this. I think all of us have had to do that at one time or another. We go to a couple dinners, maybe even 3, maybe even 4 in some cases, and you don't want to be rude. You try and eat a little bit of something here and a little bit of something there, but you know as well as I do, everybody prepares the feast.
Right.
And
they prepare obviously too much every time. They
prepare too much food. So you really need to kind of prepare your itinerary for the day and how much you're going to eat at this location, the next location, the third location, the fourth location, to where, I mean to tell you, I've eaten Thanksgiving meals where for 3 days felt like I couldn't move. Or you're so hungry the next day because your stomach was so full, got rid of all that food, thinking, I need more. I need more. I need more. And then you put more food in there, and the next thing you know, you're feeling worse.
Right. You get accustomed to that.
Yeah.
Your body it doesn't take long for your body to get trained. I mean, they always say Rome wasn't built in a day. But when it comes to your body, once you get used to that type of meal plan, your body starts craving it. It feels like it needs it when it actually doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, when you're trying to fuel whatever your current body weight is, your current body weight probably is not what your desired body weight needs to be. We want to fuel what your desired body weight needs to be, or your ideal body weight. But again, you were talking about preparing meals. Things aren't getting cheaper. So that's another good point.
You just went shopping the other day.
Yeah. So if we prepare the same size meals as normally would as a traditional Thanksgiving meal, or what I would consider, everything we lay all over the table is there, it's probably gone up significantly.
Oh, yeah.
So, and waste is a big thing right now. I mean, it's throwing money away that none of us can throw away.
So cut back on your serving size. save money. It doesn't mean you got to throw the product away.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, if you got a can of something, you can always put it in a container and you can eat it 2 days later.
Right. Or what is it necessary to do mashed potatoes, fried potatoes, baked potatoes, and sweet potatoes.
And rolls on top of that.
You've got
4 different types of rolls. Yeah.
And 4 different kinds of rolls, you know. Maybe go to half of that. And that way you're saving money. For one, you don't have the indulgence of feeling like you have to eat that food because you don't want to waste it.
All right. One of the things I want to talk about today, because this is always the time of year, we always know it. You start to see the cookies come out for Christmas, and you see it, and the pies are out for Thanksgiving. One of the things that I know a long time ago when we talked first off, and you said it's not a problem to have a second piece of pie, but give yourself some time. Eat that first piece of pie, wait, and if 20, 25 minutes later you still want a second piece of pie, go have a second piece of pie. By then, your brain knows I still got room.
Right.
But don't just go take one piece of chocolate pie, pumpkin pie, mince pie, boysenberry pie, whatever it might be, and then think you're going to wolf that all down at one time, because that's really going to get to you. So the sugar content, though, in a lot of these pies is very high.
Very, very.
What does that do to your body when you get that kind of rush of cookies and sugar from the pies, or even, you know, even from some of the meals? Obviously, as you were talking about, there's some high sugar content in some of the meals, like candied yams and stuff.
Right.
Candied yams means candy. It means putting a sugar into it to make it sweeter and tastier.
Right.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
How does that sugar affect somebody who maybe has been great for 3 weeks, 4 weeks straight, and all of a sudden they get that blast of sugar, and then the next day they get another blast of sugar, and the next day. How does that affect you?
Well, for one, when you're putting sugar is just simple sugars processed, you know, compared to what a complex carbohydrate, let's say potatoes or whole grain bread or something like that, that takes time to digest, and there's more nutrition in that type. Simple sugars like sugar is like a bottle rocket. I would almost call them non-nutritive, because they're just, all you're getting is blood sugar. Okay?
Fast.
It's fast, like a bottle rocket. So your body, it doesn't matter if you're diabetic, if you're not, that's going to increase your blood sugar at a rapid rate. Hence, your body is going to punch out a lot of insulin. And what does your body do? That is where a lot of you feel tired. That's your lower metabolism. That just slows everything down, because your body's trying to get back to normal. You know what I'm trying to say?
You may have an instantaneous sugar rush, but you're going to pay for it later.
Oh, you are going to pay for it. So try to avoid as much as simple sugars, and also it also increases that inflammatory issue. So like if you're having issues with arthritis, and you know, if you're having things, some joint pain of some sort, I tend to notice that, you know, when you're eating a lot of those simple sugars, they tend to have more issues with that problem and inflammation. So cut back on that. Now when it comes to the servings, I see the indulgence of wanting to have those types of food, and I can find benefit in anything. I'm a dietitian, but fill up on the nutritious foods to the best first. Okay? Then let's start looking at those little indulgences, you know, those desserts. I guarantee, and if you eat one, don't feel like you have to have the stereotypical slice of pie. Why do you have to have the full slice? Taste that one, because you've got how many things to sample there. I don't care if you've got to take a spoonful, just as enough to get one bite.
Take a slither.
Take a slither. Get your taste in and give yourself time. Let yourself enjoy that. Then if you feel at that point you would like to try something else, if your body feels like it's ready to have another piece, yeah, go for it. But again, a bite or a sliver. Don't feel like you have to force everything, because then, like you said, if you're getting every pie on that plate, at that point, well, I was trained, and I think we've had this conversation before, you finish your plate. If you're gonna put it on there,
yes.
You're going to put it on there, you make sure it's not wasted.
That's right.
So, and like we said before, we don't want to waste food, we don't want to waste money. So, start off slow. Give yourself time. Let your body catch up.
it's good philosophy. Now, we know a lot of people like to try and maintain their good weight, and they're fitness center members, or they work out at home, or whatever they do. And we all want to remind everybody that's a great thing to do. And you're going to probably take a few days off to do this, to go Thanksgiving. When you go back to working out, don't think you're going to step right back in where you were a week before at the same level, because you've stopped for about a week. Yep. You can actually hurt yourself pretty bad, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. You could absolutely hurt yourself. And because those muscles have tightened up, you're not probably...
You've added some weight.
You haven't flexed. Yeah, you haven't stretched out. You haven't done, so don't just go hit the ground running like you did before. I mean, taking a week off is, gradually bring that back in. You may cut your workout in half just to start. It won't take you long to get back. Muscle memory doesn't take long. Yeah. So you get back, but you injure yourself, you're out for a while.
That can take a while. And if you do have a nice Thanksgiving meal, instead of kicking back and watching the rest of the football game and taking a little nap on that, maybe go outside, walk around, take a little walk, do something, get motivated, keep up the metabolism, and let it burn off some of that right off the bat. And it's same thing at Christmas if you're out and about. A lot of times you're with family and friends, and it's hard to get away because you're talking and you're conversing and you're nibbling at the same time. But you can take a few minutes, just go walk around the house a few times if you have to. Just get out and keep moving and get that metabolism going.
Well, that helps the digestive process, all that food you've eaten. It keeps the body moving, keeps your muscles craving energy, so your processes keep moving. Bowels keep moving, keeps food digesting. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Very good. I don't have anything
You're
else.
You're a smart man.
Well, I try to be. I read a lot. I read your book.
Oh, my book?
Yeah. Oh. One little paper pamphlet you gave me.
Don't read the back page. No,
yeah, I can't see any much on that, so I'm kind of blank. But we do want to thank Jason for coming in. Do you have anything else you'd like to interject for the holidays? No, people might want to do, and especially alcohol at this time. Some people tend to not drink at all, and then they get around family and friends, and there's wine and champagne, and they tend to overdo that, and that can be detrimental to your digestive system too.
Absolutely, I know. And alcohol can be like an appetite stimulant. So when you start sipping on alcohol prior to eating, it feels like you want to eat more because it technically is an appetite stimulant. However, if you think about what fuel we get from alcohol, there's 7 kilocalories per gram of alcohol. So where carbohydrate is 4, protein is 4, and fat is 9. So think of that, all that same size amount of food, where carbohydrate and protein are less in calories compared to alcohol and fat. Fat is the highest, obviously. So, but when it's consuming, you always consume. We always teach in moderation.
Sure, absolutely.
Males can have 2 drinks, and where females are 1. And that could be anywhere from beer to wine. And we just keep the portions adequate to where we're not, A, increasing that more calories, and B, you don't want all the problems that comes with alcohol.
Yeah, there can be a lot. You just don't want to overdo it, because you will pay in more ways than one if you tend to overindulge.
Oh,
and I'm not saying...
You're talking about feeling bad the next day. No,
you can feel bad, but you can feel horrible.
Oh, yeah.
That can really get to you the next day. And probably all of us have been there one time or another. Even when you think you're moderating, you don't look back on it and you think, oh, I'm just having 1 or 2. And it ends up being 3 or 4 or 5 over maybe a longer span of time. But still, then you might be eating all that time, and the next day you talk about feeling like a slug.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, what did I do yesterday? It's not the booze hitting your head. It's the whole package.
Right. And then making sure you bring up another good point. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water. Mm-hmm. Even because that also helps with the digestive process, and for one, it keeps you hydrated. And this time of year, being cold, we tend to not drink. So I always encourage drinking. And whenever you don't feel thirsty, try to take a sip anyway. Keep a bottle of water with you. Keep a glass of water, something. Just carry it with you and sip.
Which brings up one other point that I will make, and it really has nothing to do with nutrition, but it has a lot to do with staying hydrated. A lot of people now have wood heat. Wood heat will dry you out and dry you out very quickly.
And dry the house out. Too.
Dry the house out. But I mean, you feel your lips getting dry, your skin getting dry. You need to stay hydrated because that wood heat, I mean, as good as it is and fantastic, it does get warm real quick. However, it can be detrimental to your skin and to your hydration, right?
Absolutely. That's why I always encourage people to try to anywhere. If you think of like a 2-liter bottle, 2 liters, just think of a 2-liter bottle of soda. I don't want you drinking soda. Increase caffeine and sodium. That's another radio interview.
Yes.
So think of a 2-liter bottle full of water. Roughly, that's about what we need to. Bless you. That's about what we need to drink in a day. Okay, roughly. So if we can think of that's 2 liters, so it's about 2,000 milliliters. That's roughly for the most people. That's about where we need to be. Some need to be a little bit less, maybe have a littler person, or some maybe need to be a little bit more. But if we can stick around that concept, that's what we need in a day. Good for kidney health, good for digestive health, good for hydration, electrolytes. We just need that.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in. Obviously, Jason is got some good tips there for you to make you feel good the next day on Thanksgiving Friday. You know, it used to be Black Friday and everybody would go out there shopping. Remember years ago?
Oh, yeah.
It used to be crazy. Not so much anymore. Still, there's still some people that do it, but not like it used to be. But if you are going to be out and about doing things over the holidays, please watch your caloric intake. Watch how much you drink. Watch how much you eat. We want you to have a fantastic Thanksgiving holiday, fantastic Christmas holiday. But if you overindulge, you do tend to pay the prices. And that's in whether you eat it or drink it or whatever. Moderation. I know you've always talked to me about that. Slow it down. Do it in moderation. When your body says it's full, it's full. Stop.
Listen to your brain.
Yeah, listen to your body. My friend, good to see you. Take care. I want you and yours to have a happy Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Very good. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you before the Christmas holiday. But until then, thank you very much for coming in. Jason Edwards, dietitian at the Salem Memorial District Hospital. We invite you to stick around. We're going to take a look at the weather here shortly and keep it here on KSMO.